coming up next. Eric Smith. Later. Dora Get Grounded. On GoAnimate Network. Coming up next. Penny and Mitch. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. The Eric Show. Later. Oscar and Otto. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. It's Big Mean Sister. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. The Adventures of Dallas. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Battle for Dream Island. Later. Danny Dog. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Angry Birds Tunes. Later. Big Mean Sister. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. News Radio. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. It's Dora Gets Grounded. Later. GNN News. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Foster Home for Imaginary Friends. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Anime Nation. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Little Bill Get Grounded. Later. GNN News. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Penny and Mitch. Later. The Adventures of Dallas. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. The Mean Big Sister Christmas episode. Later. The Caillou Gets Grounded special Christmas Ground. On GoAnimate Network. Coming up next. Oscar and Otto. Later. The Eric Show. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Dora Gets Grounded. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Danny Dog. Later. Foster Home for Imaginary Friends Christmas Special and a Lost Clone. On GoAnimate Network. Coming up next. Angry Birds Tunes. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. It's the Eric Show. Later. Caillou Gets Grounded. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Kid Temper Tantrum. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. GNN News. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Eric Smith. Later. Battle for Dream Island. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Oscar and Otto. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. SpongeBob SquarePants. Later. The Rugrats. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. The Loud House. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Ed and Eddie. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. Teen Titans. Later. Clone High. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. GNN News. Later. The Big Movie Night. On GoAnimate. Coming up next. The Big Movie Night. Later. Consplat 4 Kids TV. On GoAnimate.